Hello, my name is Ryan Freeman. Welcome to my life, and this is a video about making friends in Kaohsiung, a group that I have joined. It is an actors group. It is a group that I found on Facebook. For those of you who move to another city or to another country, a very useful tool are the Facebook groups. You can go on to the city, just type in the city under the groups tab of Facebook, and you'll generally find several different groups of people who are living in that city doing various events. And so right before I moved to Kaohsiung, I went onto Facebook and I just typed in Kaohsiung and I found foreigners in Kaohsiung, Kaohsiung Q&A, and I just had a sort of a browse of the type of people that were living here, the type of people who were looking to connect. And there was one group called EPAT, Expat Performing Arts Troupe, that was just forming. Like they had their first meeting like a week before I got to Kaohsiung. And the idea of the group was actors, writers, artists in general, but focusing on performing artists, would meet together once a week on Sunday for 2 hours to exchange and collaborate ideas and hone their crafts. Now, I am a YouTuber, a teacher, a jiu-jitsu player, but a long time ago, I delved into the acting world. When I was 24, I started auditioning for plays, got some big roles, just amateur plays at the community college, took acting classes, and I really, really loved the world that opened up to me. I studied acting a little bit and even went to a couple auditions, but quickly became disillusioned, ended up moving to China and Japan, did some acting there, professional work, was on TV and radio, did lots of modeling, although that's not really acting. I did some professional work, did more live drama as well. So I've tried to carry that acting with me into Asia. Now, then I ended up getting married and I ended up saying goodbye to acting for quite a while. I still did entertainment jobs that used some of those skills, but not quite. No plays, no TV, no nothing. I started this YouTube channel as a way to express myself, not as an actor, but just to practice the ability of speaking in front of an audience. As well as many other reasons, right? That's not the main reason I do YouTube. But so the part of me that really opened up to acting and theater in general had sort of laid dormant for many, many years. And then I moved to Taiwan and I didn't even think about plugging into any acting circles. But when I did move to Kaohsiung and I searched on that Facebook groups tab for Kaohsiung, I saw this EPAT, Expat Performing Arts Troupe, and I thought, well, I don't know anyone in Kaohsiung. I don't have any friends yet. So perhaps that old part of me will be able to not only give it some air, it's been sort of locked down inside of me, and perhaps meet some interesting people. Now, I had worries, artists can be temperamental. I wasn't sure, if I would vibe with them, but I decided to go ahead and give it a shot. I went, and basically it was 2 hours of doing improv games. Now, if you've heard me previously speak just about teaching, one of the things that I mentioned was the most valuable tool in my teacher's toolkit is improv games. Improv games are games where you organize the players as a teacher, all of my students, and I have them do lots of different things where they have to act spontaneously. Because one of the big problems that a lot of English learners do have, particularly in Asia, is they get caught in their mind. So with improv games, the idea is just to act spontaneously for fun. And it's also, perhaps if you're trying to really picture what improv games are, if you've ever been to like a huge company meeting or a church gathering or a summer camp, basically like icebreaker games, things that get you out of your comfort zone. And there's a lot of different ones, and I only choose the ones that are suitable for my classes. There are some that are just going to be too advanced, too difficult. So this group, EPAT, that meets on Sundays, 1, 2, 3 p.m., we would just do improv games, get to know each other a little bit, but it was all focused upon that, and I just found it to be a blast. I was a little rusty at first, and, just like any skill, just like anything, you sort of take some time to get used to, like, okay, Ryan, you're a dog, and you are looking for another dog to make friends with. Okay, scene. Okay, and now I'm running around like a dog barking. It's not quite always that silly. There's a lot of room for creativity, lots of different games. It's just a fun thing, and I would often come back. I would often laugh my butt off during those 2 hours, almost more heartily than any time throughout my week. I didn't really get to know people that well, just sort of, meet and have some fun together and then go. But over the course of weeks, I did. And now I took a break, and then the founder sent me this wonderful message to come back, and I came back, and it's become a very important part of my week, this 2 hours that I meet every Sunday. However, I did have that eye infection and went traveling with my mom, so there was this huge gap that I wasn't able to go. But I ended up going to one meeting just as my eyes recovered a little bit and before I went to meet my mom, and the founder was not there. She was on vacation, and we had a group, and there was a very interesting discussion that took place. Basically, two very important members, two gentlemen, ended up sort of formulating a split within the group. They were expressing some of their dissatisfaction with the direction the group was going, and I felt conflicted because, on the one hand, okay, so basically, let me just back up a little bit to tell you how I was feeling about the group at this time. So basically, we would do these improv games for 2 hours, but in the recent past, we started doing improv for about half the time, and we started to try to work on studying scripts, like traditional acting work, with the hopes of the founders, mainly the founders' hopes, but other people as well. It wasn't like an autocratic decision, but the founders' hopes of putting on a live performance. Now, I would love to put on a live performance. I think that would be great. But I was a little bored with our scene study, to be quite frank, and wondering if I was going to even continue because it was getting boring for me. And I saw a lot of new members. It's a very small group, just like a real small handful of us. And sometimes a couple people can't come. Sometimes we get new members, but they don't always stick around. And especially for the Taiwanese people that come to our meetings, many of them do not speak English fluently enough to properly keep up with what we're doing. Not that we're not trying to, we try to make it as easy as possible, but it's not the easiest group to plug into, even for a native English speaker, because you are being asked to do a lot of silly things while other people are watching. So imagine an English learner doing that on top of struggling with a language barrier. And I saw that there were at least one or two meetings where we were doing the improv games, and those new members, those Taiwanese new members, were actually, even though they struggled a little bit, they were having a lot of fun. But then when we got to the scene study, I just saw their eyes sort of glaze over, and I was getting bored, they were bored, and they never showed up again. And so I always felt that I was not really happy with the direction the group was going, but I didn't feel it was within my place to say anything about it. If I had my thoughts, but I didn't really feel, I mean, if this is what the group wanted, this is what the group wanted. Now I would just continue as long as I still felt that there was something for me, I guess. And perhaps things would shift. But I go to this meeting, and these two gentlemen, very important parts of our group, they expressed some of the same feelings that I had, which was they prefer the improv section more than the scene study. They were even more extreme than me in my feelings. I was fine to continue going to the meetings, doing improv, and then doing scene study, even if it was a little boring. It was still overall worth it for me, but for them it was not. It was time to break it up, and they wanted to focus just on improv. So it was really strange. We sat in a circle, and these two gentlemen sort of led a discussion, and it seemed almost like a mutiny because the founder wasn't there. The founder, this very charismatic, talented young woman from, I believe, San Diego, California, she was on vacation in Thailand, and I felt it was a little strange to be having such a serious discussion of breaking up a very small group when the founder wasn't there. So I felt uneasy. And recently I've been watching a series about pirates called Black Sails. And, there's always these little mutinies that are happening, and I felt like I was in the midst of a mutiny, even though we weren't at sea, or a coup. But the idea behind it, which was, let's have an improv group and a scene study group, I was totally behind. So it was weird to be very sort of uneasy about how it was being handled, this sort of coup, but actually quite supporting an outcome if everyone was happy. But I was very worried how the founder would take it once she found out. And one of those two gentlemen who sort of led this coup, mutiny, as we'll call it, he said he would message her. They've been together from the start of the conception of EPAT, and he would message her. He would be in charge of communicating all this to her. I was still a little doubtful how she would take it, but I thought that someone needed to tell her this. We couldn't be meeting in secret, even though it was our weekly meeting, but we couldn't be having these discussions without her. She's like not only the founder, but she's like the driving force of been the driving force of our group, and my favorite performer to watch. So anyways, I left that meeting, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And sure enough, within the next couple weeks, I go on vacation, and I'm like traveling with my mom, and I just, in our little group chat, there is just the founder. Eventually, I guess she finds out. There's a lot of probably discussions, private chats that I'm not privy to. The founder just blows up on the group chat, starts calling the mutineers out, these two rebels, and you could feel the anger. I mean, she is a fantastic actress. And one of the things that I think empowers artists in general is their feelings, is the passion, the springs of passion that are within them. And so I have never seen this side of her, but this person must have it because she is such a powerful presence on stage. And well, you can read it in the group chat, and one of the mutineers leaves the group chat, and then another person gets sort of slammed a little bit, and a couple people get kicked out. And then I could tell she's sad, she's angry, she's confused, and she asks me. Now, she might have been trying to she might have known where I was, and she might have been just trying to gauge where exactly I was on this whole thing. She's like, Ryan, did you see all this? Now, I did not want to be involved in this drama. I just wanted to eat some popcorn and perhaps watch it from a distance. And I didn't even want it to happen. I would have preferred a peaceful resolution, but it appeared that that was no longer a possibility. So I was like, oh, I didn't really want to dig into it, but I really liked the founder. And from the things she was saying, I could feel how uncomfortable she was. So I couldn't just leave her hanging. So I tried to explain my position concisely. Basically that I did think it was a little uncomfortable how things had gone, but I hoped that there would be a solution. It would be a tragedy for our group to break up. And some other people chimed in. I should say, I think the ladies of the group, not all of the ladies, but some of the ladies, the core ladies, were like, we got to support the founder. There was one woman who got kicked out of the group, who, I don't want to speak for her, but I think she's more in line with the rebels, but she just sort of, she's not really that consistent at our meetings anyways. And here I am in the middle. And I really like the rebels' overall vision of, and I even suggested, perhaps I even expressed this solution, something that they were pushing for in my own way, which was, we have an hour, we have half the time to improv and then half the time to scene study, and there are two different meetings, closely related. For those who wanted to go to improv, they just do improv. And for anyone who wanted to stay with scene study, they can go to scene study, and people can go to both or just one, up to them. Like, just modular options. That would have been that was my dream, you know? Because I love improv and I love the potential of putting on a live performance, but I wasn't quite confident with the way that it had been going. So that was my stance, and I didn't really want to pick a side at all, because I liked the rebels' vision. I didn't like the sneakiness is the thing. I can see why they did that, because she's so powerful. She probably would have crushed their mutiny right away, but I still felt very dishonest. Particularly because she's put so much hard work and energy and love and passion into this entire group. You know, we wouldn't even have this group if it wasn't for her. So they did her wrong. So she makes a joke, the founder, that she may show up to the meeting. And I put a giggly face, because I thought that probably was going to be a very explosive thing if her and the mutineers ended up meeting after this blow up on line chat with explicit curse words, and people being kicked out of groups, and, you know, the future of our group at stake. But at the same time, there is a little bit, you know, it's a group of actors, it's a drama club, and there's nothing more dramatic. I mean, this is really just like a TV series. So almost I felt it might almost be very entertaining if it happened, but not that I wished it. I still was hoping that there would be some sort of peaceful situation. So what happens? I'm 10 minutes late to the meeting, and I'm like, damn, I really wanted to show up on time. I end up walking through the entrance, and I see the two mutineers, these two gentlemen. They're both a little older than I. They're sitting alone, just the two of them, at a table, and they're not even in the venue where we have our meeting. And they're kind of like, it's kind of like awkward conversation between us. I sit down, I'm like, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, so what's happened? And they tell me that the founder is actually inside the venue. They had sent me a message, hey, we're going to have improv at the venue on our normal time. So I'm like, oh, they've taken over the time in the venue. Well, the founder's out of town, so maybe that's okay. So I was going to show up to improv, and maybe the founder would be there, maybe not. Well, yeah, I guess she was back in town. So anyway, sorry about that. So but they're sitting outside. They're not inside the venue. The founder's inside. And they said when they walked inside, she put her hand to them and said, "Get out of here. You're not wanted." And there's another woman inside, a Taiwanese woman, Taiwanese-American woman, who's a very important part. And both of these factions want her on their side because this is a woman who does all of the publicity for our group. She posts on social media. Not that we have a big social media following, but she also has connections to venues. She knows professional Taiwanese acting groups in the area as well as comedians. So they both really sort of want her allegiance. But she's inside with the founder. And then the founder opens the door after I've been talking to the two rebels for like 25 minutes. I'm feeling very uneasy because the founder's in there and I'm kind of on her side. But I'm out here with the rebels because I'm kind of on their side. Because I kind of want an improv only group and a scene study only group, which is what they want. But I do feel that the founder was done dirty, and I really don't want her to, because she had had hinted that she might just leave the group entirely. I did not want that to happen because she's my favorite person in the group, you know? So I'm really like, what the fuck do I do? Do I walk in? Well, as I'm thinking that, the door opens and the founder looks at me and is like, "Ryan, you can come inside." So I'm like, "Bye guys." And I go inside and I talk with the founder and I talk with this influential Taiwanese American woman. And she's still angry. She's still thinking that it's gonna be her or them. One group has to leave. And me and the Taiwanese girl both sort of commiserate with what happened, honestly. But we said, well, if there is a chance for any sort of peace to be brokered, it has to happen today because both parties are here. If we just have a split in here, well, our group is now split. This is an extremely small group. I mean, only 5 people have even showed up. You can't split a group of 5 people, even though there are other members who are out of town or sick or whatnot. We can't split the group up. Let's try to have peace. Even though she's very extremely emotional. Has a right to be, but she's very more emotional than any one of you probably would be. I don't know about you, but very powerful emotions are bubbling up. So I'm not optimistic, but let's try, right? This is our only chance. And so she feels calmed a little bit, and so she says, "Okay, you're my lawyers. Call the defendants in." So we call these 2 guys in, and we sit in a circle, the 5 of us, and she's like, one of the guys tries to sit next to her, and she like goes across, and then it starts, and she just lays into them. Like lays into them so hard. Basically, you are part of the forces of evil. You have no decency, no humanity. I think there's a basis for saying these extreme sentiments, but I still felt that was a little too far from my perspective. From hers, okay. But from my perspective, it was extreme. She's very idealistic, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it was very harsh what she was saying. And they tried to defend themselves a little bit. Every time they defended themselves, she became more and more ferocious. I couldn't really believe what I was watching. Like it was the realest thing I had seen in a long time, but it was also so absurd that it was happening that I almost like, are we doing some sort of improvised play, you know? But then I'm like, no, we can't, because if we were, no one's acting is this good. It was just so raw. It was so real to see this young woman from San Diego just destroying these 2 older men just with her torrents of talent and passion and righteousness of her ideals. And they're just there's nothing they can do. Everything they try to do to defend themselves with reason and logic, they're just destroyed further. It was quite something to see. Now, one of them is a very, very gentle. They're both gentle, but one of them's a very gentle, empathic type of guy. And so he was very intelligent as well. So he, instead of trying to defend himself, he just said, like, you're right. It's our fault. You know, how can I make it better? And that worked. Like, she wanted genuine acknowledgement from these two gentlemen that they fucked up, that they did something terrible, and also that they deserve a penance, that they need to be punished. And as soon as they started, now the other guy who's sort of our improv guru, he leads all of the improv exercises. Anytime he tried to speak up, he just got smashed. So he was even told by his rebel friend to just keep quiet. So he just kept quiet, and he just was like this. He was very uncomfortable. I would imagine so. I was later told, because I ended up having a drink with these guys after, that he just could not believe what was happening was actually happening. But basically, I mean, one of the empathic, sort of gentle, intelligent communicator of the rebels, he just, you're right. This was my thinking. And then as he did that, our founder started to acknowledge that there might have been a little lapse in communication on her own end. So there was this reapproachment. There was this mutual understanding that was happening. And me and the Taiwanese American women, who are both pretty much the peace brokers to begin with at this stage, both of us sort of in the middle, perhaps her more on the founder side, perhaps me really right down the middle. We had hope, and everyone would speak, except for this one guy, because he tried to and he just got shut down. And you had to speak from your heart. You had to speak with true authenticity, otherwise nothing would get through. And it was just so darn amazing. It was more interesting than any of our groups meetings that we've had, which was, I mean, it sounds like a tragedy, right? But it was so much more dramatic than anything we've ever had. It was so darn interesting. But some of the things, like when our founder was like, she just had these men where she wanted, and she was just, from now on, I'm the queen. You kiss my ass. Every time we meet, you are kissing my ass, and I have a fat ass. Bang. And of course I'm laughing, because although it's not quite the format to laugh, she even lets out some chuckles. I don't even know if she can believe what she's saying. And they're like, and these two rebels are like, we'll kiss your ass. We'll kiss your ass. And she's like, when I say jump, you jump. They're like, we'll jump. So it was a hell of a meeting. And the decision that was reached was that this Sunday, we will test out the new system. One group will meet for improv, and another group will meet for scene study. And the founder's not going to go to the improv, and those two rebels are not going to come to the scene study. So there's like two different groups now. But people like me or other people can go to both as they like. And so we're going to test that out. Now, am I optimistic that it's going to work out? I don't know. But I didn't think that there would be any mutual understanding when I walked into that situation, and there was. So I think it is possible. But there's a lot of explosive feelings, and I don't know what private messages have been exchanged over the last several days. Anyways, I just thought that this would be interesting for you guys. When you move to a city, like I moved to Kaohsiung several months ago, you want to plug in, you want to meet people. I joined jiu-jitsu. I've met guys through jiu-jitsu. I joined this actors group. I like having different parts of myself expressed, like my teacher side, my fighter side with jiu-jitsu, my silly actor side with this actors group. But you know, when you meet people, you meet some characters. And when you meet actors, you meet some crazy characters. And this was a crazy meeting. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please put it down below. My name is Ryan Freeman. Bye-bye.